Jag like Michael Walker, Polanco, and Franco. Where'd you go to get into first place? Check batted ball data and swinging strike rates. Raisins on shriveled grapes. Here's Adam's happy place.
Happy Kokomo Friday and welcome into Fantasy Baseball Today, presented by Line & Kugels. More on their great beverages later on in the podcast. Frank Stanfield joined by Scott White and Chris Towers. A lot to talk about, as usual. Who is this Brandon Crawford and what did he do with Brandon Crawford? He must be captive somewhere. We have Week 9 sleepers. We're redrafting the first round. Scott wrote an article for this. It is on the site right now. And a whole bunch more from Thursday. Let's jump right in.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Well, first of all, how you guys doing? I mean, Scott, I haven't seen you in like, 2 days? How you doing, buddy?
Oh, man, it's been a whirlwind, let me tell you.
Yeah, you missed the Klubot no-hitter. You didn't miss it. I'm sure you saw it.
I yawned my way through that. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
It was
Yankee
like,
haters, man. Yankee haters.
It's nothing to do with the Yankees.
I know.
Like, we've gone to almost weekly to almost daily for no-hitters. Rich Hill was my pick for a no-hitter today. He didn't quite come through, but I mean, it was my pick.
No. Chris, let's not.
Look, we understand it's been like 12 years since the Yankees had something to root for. So, I understand.
Oh, my God. Let's not talk about no-hitters for like 20 minutes again, Chris. Although I thought it was a good conversation. We did spend a lot of time on it. Scott, your oh my goodness gracious player from Thursday.
Well, you mentioned him already. My oh my goodness gracious player is Brandon Crawford, who hit his 11th home run of the season, right? 11th?
That is correct.
Yeah, 11th home run of the season. It's on like a 40 homer pace. His 7th in the month of May. So yet another hitter who is crushing it in May. The great comeback for offense happening this month. And Brandon Crawford's a part of that. Now, he's only been a 20 homer guy, I believe, once in his very long career, 34 years old now. Like, even shortstops who were good hitters once upon a time, they're usually not at their best anymore.
He's more than halfway. He's more than halfway to his career.
Yeah, 21. He's never even had a 15 homer season apart from that 2015 season when he hit 21 home runs. So I think he's deserving of a healthy dose of skepticism. Having said that, career high fly ball rate, career high hard hit rate. I mean, stands to reason he's hitting the ball harder than ever to have this many home runs in a short period of time. So that's kind of a chicken and egg thing for me. But maybe if he can sustain the fly balls, maybe if I think we looked it up last time we talked about him, right? Like San Francisco's still playing is not the extreme hitter's park it used to be.
Yeah,
still pitcher friendly, but not what it used to be. Then maybe it's possible he can indeed hit 25 plus home runs this season. Obviously not the 40 he's on pace for. Low strikeout rate. That's always been the norm for him. And like shortstop is pretty yucky. Some injuries there, some Gleyber Torreses and Dansby Swansons and a few other players not living up to their potential. Like even with the skepticism that is deserved Brandon Crawford, like somebody in your league probably needs him. It very well may be you. And I think you at least got to ride him for as long as this lasts. Maybe it'll last longer than we think it will.
And he's the most added shortstop in CBS leagues right now. He is 68% rostered. So that roster rate is climbing, and rightfully so. Brandon Crawford, the best quality of contact in his career. It's weird what's going on, but he's performing well. So I feel like you got to ride the hot streak while you can. Scott, you brought up the name Dansby Swanson. Would you drop Dansby Swanson for Brandon Crawford?
Well, Dansby Swanson himself had a huge day. He had 3 hits. He had his 6th homer. He had his 8th double. And let me see how he's doing in May. Is he having a big comeback in May?
No,
not so much. Not so. His strikeout rate this season is like through the roof. I think in a shallower, like if you're talking like a 12-team points league where, you might roster 11 hitters total, then yeah, just go with the hot hand. I don't think Dansby Swanson at his best is high end enough that you can, not give him up. And, that kind of shallow league is probably the only kind of league where you can still pick up Crawford. So yeah, I'd be fine with that.
Okay. So in a shallower league, you could do it. I don't think I would in any categories leagues, just because Swanson could chip in a few steals, and we know what he could do when he gets hot. We saw it last year, 10 homers and 5 steals in just 60 games. So
to clarify, that's not me saying Swanson's done, stick a fork in him. It's just, maximizing roster space and there are times in those shallower leagues where it makes sense to ride the hot hand.
Yeah, and I actually like in deeper leagues Swanson as a buy low candidate. I brought that up last month, and he hasn't turned it on yet. This was a great game for him on Thursday, but there are underlying numbers for him that I think say he's going to be better. 26.7% line drive rate for Dansby Swanson. That is 18th highest among qualified hitters. He has a career high 31% strikeout rate, yet his swinging strike rate is exactly what it was last year when he struck out around 26% of the time. He's off against fastballs. He's batting 218. That number has never been lower than 285 each of the previous 3 seasons. So I do think we have some regression, positive regression coming for Dansby Swanson in a great Braves lineup. Chris, your oh my goodness gracious player from Thursday?
Yeah, I do want to add, a couple things about Brandon Crawford. One, he's not really playing every day, right? He started 32 of 43 games for them. It seems like he has to have sat against a number of lefties because he only has 34 plate appearances coming into today. And he's been awful against lefties.
Right. Yeah, I saw that too.
So I'm not sure necessarily what to make of that. He actually does have 3 home runs and 34 plate appearances, but 9 strikeouts, 553 OPS despite the 3 home runs. I don't know. I'm much more on the skeptical side, but I guess that's probably not particularly surprising.
Well,
now for my goodness gracious,
I was
player,
skeptical too. I don't think that doesn't always have to be a contrast.
I'm more on the skeptical side, Scott.
All right.
I'm more skeptical. But a player I'm not skeptical of because I liked him coming into the season and confirmation bias is a hell of a drug is Ian Happ, who is red hot since coming off the IL. He's played 6 games and has 4 home runs in those 6 games. He also had a home run in his last game before going on the IL. So you add all that up together, and that's 5 home runs in his last 7 games. He got off to a miserable start, OPS under 500 through the first 25 games. But Ian Happ was, very good after coming back from AAA in 2019. He carried it over into 2020. He's now played 146 games since coming back from AAA in 2019, and he has 27 home runs. With that's a 30 homer pace. That's only 565 plate appearances. He's still hitting high in the Cubs lineup. I still think Ian Happ can be a difference maker for a fantasy team. He got off to a really bad start, and admittedly, I dropped him in a league because I've always known one of my weaknesses as a player is holding on to slow starts too long and having too much faith in my preseason prediction for a player. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to cut bait, stop throwing bad money after good or whatever the saying is. And, let's see if we can find someone else. Turned out Matt Beattie hasn't been a difference maker.
How big was his league?
Then. 12 team.
All right.
I wouldn't have had a problem dropping Happ in a 12-team league. He was a late round pick anyway. And I'm thinking of a points league, I guess. Like if you've had him in your lineup in a 3 outfielder points league this whole time, you're probably not doing very well.
No.
So I wouldn't have had a problem dropping him, even recognizing he'd probably get hot again. But I'm not sure that Beattie
again, trying to ride the hot hand, Scott.
Okay.
Trying to not be such a Chris Towers.
All right. Well, then you got to do the same thing with Brandon Crawford, Chris. You got to ride the hot hand.
I didn't like Brandon Crawford coming into the season. That's not how it works.
But you liked Matt Beattie.
Loved him.
I'm
a real Beattie head.
I must have missed that on our NL only preview for the season. Spoiler alert. Ian Happ is one of Scott's sleeper hitters heading into next week, and I think for good reason. 3 games against the Pirates next week, and he also faces off against Luis Castillo, who has his issues himself, but Ian Happ also has good history against Luis Castillo. So Ian Happ is 54% rostered. He could be out there in your league. Guys, I'm going to give you 3 names that are outfield eligible. You tell me if you would drop them for Ian Happ. First one is Andrew Vaughn.
I would hope I have a player who has less potential than Andrew Vaughn, and in my leagues, I definitely do.
Yes or no? Drop Andrew Vaughn for Ian Happ.
Yes or no?
I don't think I would. Like, I don't know. It's 6 of one, half a dozen. They're both in my top 10 sleeper hitters for this upcoming week. Happ's a little hotter. I think Vaughn has more upside still. Whatever. I'll say no.
All right. Let's try another player.
Thank you for the yes or no answer, Scott.
Would you drop Dominic Smith for Ian Happ?
I'd be fine with it.
Yeah, I mean,
Scott seems hesitant again.
It's just a range of hitters. I don't really know what to do with them. Like, it's the kind of league that's shallow enough where Happ is available. There's no reason to commit yourself to Dominic Smith or Andrew Vaughn at this point. So it's really just a matter of preference for me. And if it came down to who I want to start this week, I would rather start Ian Happ than Dominic Smith.
All right, last one. This one might be easier. Nick Senzel.
Yeah, I'd drop Senzel for Happ.
All right, my oh my goodness gracious player from Thursday is Rich Hill. Not that he was spectacular or anything, and it was against the Baltimore Orioles. 6 innings, 1 run, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts. But over his last 5 starts, he has a 0.99 ERA. He has gone 6+ innings in 4 of those starts. He's 55% rostered. Next week, he is at the Blue Jays down in Dunedin, so it's not a great matchup per se. But the fact that Rich Hill's only 55% rostered and he's pitching this well, it kind of threw me off. So I think I'm at the level, Scott, where I would say Rich Hill is a must-add starting pitcher.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, pretty much like somebody in your league needs him. Even if you can't squeeze another pitcher onto your roster, I could understand why that would be the case. Like, everyone else in your league is asleep at the wheel because this is 4 out of 5 now, 6+ innings. I mean, his whole stat line looks, like pretty typical of Rich Hill. Maybe the ERA is a little high, but yeah, I think Rich Hill
strikeouts on the whole as good as
yeah, true. I mean, more than 1 per inning, but not quite the 11 per 9 we saw him do most of those Dodgers years. But yeah, I think he's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm looking at my rankings and like I'm moving him up to 75, which feels a little low, but like if I had Noah Syndergaard or Luis Severino, I don't think I would drop them for Rich Hill.
Well,
and those are
Syndergaard.
73 and 74 for me.
Yeah.
So
Syndergaard's close.
I think that's a good range for him. Like a little above him is Andrew Heaney and Brady Singer and Chris Bassett. And like that seems
I would drop
a fine range.
I would drop Heaney for Rich Hill. That was going to be one of my questions.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's one where I would make the swap. How about Logan Gilbert? I don't think you should, but he's looked pretty bad as first.
Yeah, I'm fine getting rid of Gilbert personally.
Yeah, I just moved. That was the guy I moved ahead. Right. I moved Hill ahead of at that point. Yeah.
Scott, you're all right dropping Gilbert just in general or only for Rich Hill?
I'm not going to drop him just because I'm mad at him and want to purge him from my roster. But
Right,
if I see something cool out there, I'm fine dropping Logan Gilbert for him. And Rich Hill's pretty cool right now.
That's where we're at. It's 2021. Rich Hill is pretty cool right now. May 21st. I love it. Last name, Herman Marquez. Would you drop him for Rich Hill?
Sure. Yeah.
Yep. I'm all right doing that. An honorable mention for, oh my goodness gracious, the Astros. I know this is like taboo. We're going to give the Astros credit, but we should. The first 5 hitters in the Astros lineup are all batting over 300. They're awesome again. Jose Altuve, Michael Brantley, Alex Bregman, Yordan Alvarez, and Yuli Gurriel in particular. We have not given this guy enough love. Chris, we were on yesterday. We had to give Zach Eflin some love. We haven't talked about him much. Same thing with Yuli Gurriel. He is now batting .333 with a .966 OPS, the best quality of contact in his career. He is one of 8 qualified hitters with more walks than strikeouts this season. He has an 11.5% walk rate, which is by far a career high. The 6th best hitter in points leagues, the 2nd best first baseman in Roto, Yuli Gurriel. The guy's awesome.
Yeah, I think back to when he first signed with the Astros, you'd look at his numbers from Cuba, and they were just ridiculous. I'm thinking it specifically in terms of the power production versus the strikeout rate, how low the strikeout rate was.
Yeah, he had a season with 30 homers and 29 strikeouts.
He's certainly been a respectable hitter up to this point, but I just wonder if he's reached a new level of comfort, or if the way the new ball is playing like particularly helps his profile. I don't know. I finally gave him some love in my rankings. I moved him up to 12th. He's ahead of guys like Rhys Hoskins and Paul Goldschmidt. So yeah, I mean, I think I actually dropped Hoskins in a points league to pick up Gurriel and like just make him my first baseman, and it's been going well so far.
Yeah, I'm perfectly fine with that as well. I moved Gurriel up to 13th. I have him just behind Santana and Luke Voit, just ahead of Jared Walsh. That one's close. Both guys have been awesome. But yeah, I have no problem making that swap. Not that, Gurriel is available anywhere anymore. No. And I don't think that this is a sell high situation unless you can sell high, which I don't think anyone's going to want to pay for Yuli Gurriel. They're going to look at it and say, oh, he's upper 30s in age, and this kind of seems like he's just off to a hot start. All right, whatever. I'm just going to hold on to Yuli Gurriel, reap all the benefits. He's in a fantastic lineup, hitting right in the middle of it. I'm just going to hold on unless I get blown away with an offer, which I don't think is going to happen. So
yeah, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be a blow you away offer. It could be DJ LeMahieu. It could be
I would definitely do that.
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
I would rather have Voit. It'd be hard for me to actually pull the trigger on that trade though right now.
Chris,
it is worth noting, you said high 30s. He's 37.
Yeah.
And he had that like really awesome 2 months where he hit like this in 2019. But for the most part, he's kind of just been like an Eric Hosmer.
Yeah.
Like usually a good batting average, decent RBI numbers, but doesn't hit for a ton of power. That's still my expectation moving forward, more or less.
And the way the environment appears to have changed, unless things are dramatically changing in May, it's kind of too early to say. But the way they appear to have changed, Hosmer himself is back to being basically a must-start player. So, even if that's all Gurriel is, you're probably still going to be pretty valuable for you.
Before we get to news and notes, want to let everyone know the 2021 PGA Championship is underway at the Ocean Course on Kiowa Island in South Carolina. The First Cut Golf Podcast is live after every single round on YouTube, breaking down the day's action with all episodes in your earbuds shortly after. Thursday through Sunday, join Rick Gaiman, Kyle Porter, and Mark Immelman and the rest of the crew as they bring you all the analysis you need to know for golf's second major. Find The First Cut on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and even live on YouTube. Some news and notes from Thursday. Jacob deGrom struck out 8 over 3 scoreless innings in his rehab start for Low A St. Lucie on Thursday.
Did you guys see? I can't remember who it was that posted it, but it was Jacob deGrom's pitching line against Low A hitters with the fact that he hit 102 miles per hour with his fastball. And then the GIF from Revenge of the Sith with Anakin igniting his lightsaber in front of the younglings.
Yeah, that was
absolutely incredible.
That was Matt Williams. Yeah, they sent him in there to... Matt Williams, not the baseball player, but the fantasy analyst. They sent him in there. They sent Jacob deGrom in there to massacre the kids. And that's exactly what happened.
Not the younglings.
Oh man, yeah, shout out to Matt Williams. We had him on in the offseason. He does fantastic work over there at NBC Sports Edge. So yeah, give him a follow. That was that's good work there. Steven Strasburg is returning to start on Friday against the Orioles. He got up to 75 pitches in his last rehab outing. Cody Bellinger and Zach McKinstry will both be in the lineup for AAA Oklahoma City on Friday. Bellinger could be back by the next week or two. if everything checks out all right for him. Ketel Marte was finally back in the starting lineup for the D-backs. He was 1 for 3 with a double the last I saw. If anybody wants to grab an update on Ketel Marte, maybe he did something awesome since last I checked. Some Twins news. Kenta Maeda will start.
He made an out.
Oh, no. All right. Well, some Twins news. Kenta Maeda will start Saturday against Cleveland. Randy Dobnak will start on Friday. Jorge Polanco was removed Thursday with ankle soreness. There is still no timetable for George Springer and his quad injury. Jesus Luzardo threw 30 pitches in a bullpen session on Thursday. Nelson Cruz was hit by a pitch in the first game of the doubleheader and didn't play in the second one because of it. Vince Velasquez was scratched from his start on Thursday due to numbness in his right index finger. Chris, what were your famous last words on yesterday's podcast?
I think I said that he was my third favorite streamer of the day.
It's hilarious.
Really? Yeah.
You even said it at the time. You're like, oh, well, famous last words. Start Vince Velasquez. And, well, he didn't even start his own game. I hope you're all right, Vince Velasquez. Tyler Duffy was suspended 2 games for throwing at your mean Mercedes. Don't really want to talk about that situation anymore.
At your mean Mercedes.
You're mean. You're mean.
It sounds like you have a car with like a disposition for running over people. Your mean Mercedes. You hit it with the fastball.
Maybe it's just got like a grill. You know how like the old Dodge Neons used to look like they were smiling? Maybe it's like a Mercedes.
Oh yeah, it looks like a scowl. Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Can you tell that we've hit the end of the week because this podcast is just.
Well, I'll bring up another. I feel like everybody in baseball Twitter tweeted this one, but the Tyler Duffy has been suspended 3 games for throwing at your mean Mercedes. Tony La Russa has I can't remember the word now. Don't worry about it. Appealed. That's the one. Tony La Russa is appealing.
Oh,
okay.
God.
Yeah.
Josh Reddick's contract was selected by the D-backs. He was in the lineup and batting 5th on Thursday. And another Twitter is ablaze because the organist in Los Angeles was playing I Saw the Sign. So I don't know.
What kind of dweeb gets mad about that?
I don't know. Well, this isn't really news, but the Yankees placed outfielder Ryan Lamar on the IL on Thursday. I'm only bringing this up because prospect Esteban Florial, who we spoke about recently, he could get the call. He's a name to watch in deeper league. Oh, damn, Scott.
You know, he got called up last year. I didn't even realize it. That's how much of a non-prospect he is in my mind at this point.
Okay,
Yankees fans.
Yankees hate, man.
But look at his numbers. It's not very good.
They're not. Yeah, they're not good. All right. Sorry, I brought up some other prospect updates. Let's start with the Blue Jays. Austin Martin is currently out of the lineup for AA New Hampshire with a hand injury. So get well soon, Austin Martin. Nate Pearson was cleared to return and start on Friday at AAA after dealing with some shoulder inflammation. Now, this is the one. Blue Jays starting pitching prospect, Alek Manoah, who I spoke about in depth with the Welsh last week on our prospect update special. He now has 3 starts, Alek Manoah. He has allowed 1 earned run with 27 strikeouts to 3 walks, over 18 innings pitched. He is lined up in the same spot in the rotation as Ross Stripling, who just got destroyed on Wednesday. So there could be something happening here. I don't know how soon it's going to happen. But
it's not necessarily just Ross Stripling's spot in the rotation because Steven Matz has been absolutely atrocious after a couple of good starts to open the season.
Yeah, and they have Anthony Kay and they obviously could use some rotation help.
Yeah,
but it did seem intentional the way they aligned his turn with Stripling's. I will point out, because I was just writing about this yesterday in the prospects report, including Alek Manoah in my top 5 to stash for the first time. Basically every Blue Jays beat writer that I saw tweeting about it was downplaying the possibility. I don't know, like if it's just like beat writer code that you have to downplay the possibility of a call up all the time, because it seems like that's the stance they're always taking. It's also worth noting Manoah has 9 professional starts in his career. His whole professional career has consisted of 9 starts.
Yep.
So it would be accelerating the timetable. I mean, he's not young, but even so, that being said, like the dominance isn't just those 3 minor league starts. Alek Manoah had maybe the most impressive spring stat line I've ever seen. He struck out 15 in 7 innings, allowing 1 hit and no walks in 7 innings. And this was not against like guys with 70 something on their jerseys. Like Baseball Reference has like a quality of opposition score that they give players in spring training, and it's 1 to 10. Usually, usually even like true starters are like a 7 point something or an 8 point something, and a prospect like Manoah might be like a 4 or 5. Quality of opposition. Manoah's this spring was 9. He faced his competition this spring was as tough as anyone's, and that's the number he put up. So he was facing real major leaguers and was that good, and he's kept it going in AAA. So I mean, I'm clearly he's one of the top 5 prospects to stash at this point. But nothing would surprise me if he doesn't get called up until late June. That wouldn't surprise me. If he gets called up for the next turn, that wouldn't surprise me either.
2 of those outings, Scott, that you mentioned in spring training were against the Yankees, and I remember watching them vividly, and there were a decent amount of the Yankees starters in that lineup. So it was, maybe the first time they saw him or whatever. He was awesome. They're not taking anything away from him. I think in redraft leagues, now that Gilbert is up, Manoah is the top pitching prospect to stash. Is that fair to say?
He's the only pitcher in those 5, yeah.
Sure.
For me.
Alex
I would agree.
Alex Kirilloff has homered in 2 games as he rehabs that wrist injury at AAA. So far, so good. Speaking of the Twins, Trevor Larnach hit his first career home run on Thursday, and it came off of a lefty. So I was pretty hyped to see that. He's batting .250 with a 789 OPS thus far. Not bad. He's 18% rostered. I was asked this question on Twitter, and I didn't really know the answer. Do you think Trevor Larnach gets sent back to the minors when Alex Kirilloff returns?
They're still starting Luis Arias and Rob Refsnyder, it looks like, in the outfield. So
Garlick is getting most of the starts.
Yeah,
Kyle Garlick
as well. Okay, yeah.
I just don't know who would be capable of playing center field. If you
Gabe
Yeah.
Kepler. Max Kepler has been playing center field, and he's not losing his job.
That could work. Yeah, they can have an outfield of Kepler, Larnach, and Kirilloff until Buxton returns.
Zariah, I know Arias got off to a great start this year. Does he deserve to be kicked out of the lineup now?
He's got a 682 OPS and hitting 268.
Yeah, so they could. The plan for him was to be utility player, and he could easily go back to that.
Injuries have made that a pretty stinky lineup of late.
A few other hitting prospects that I wanted to highlight. Rays prospect Vidal Brujan added another home run and another steal on Wednesday. He's now up to 6 home runs and 4 steals. And I think he's here before Wander Franco. Brujan is already on the 40-man roster, and he could play every outfield position. That's what he's been doing in the minors. He can play up the middle. So he's kind of a Tampa Bay Rays player. And there's a lot of power and there's a lot of speed. So if you play in category leagues, 12 teams or deeper, I think you should probably already be stashing Vidal Brujan. The Marlins outfield prospect, Jesus Sanchez, the guy is destroying baseballs right now. He's now up to 7 home runs with a .509 batting average and a 1573 OPS. The Marlins can use some offense, so I think he's probably going to be back up soon. He was with the Marlins last year. He struck out a bunch. He looked awful, but he looks great right now in AAA. And the last one I wanted to highlight, show a little love to Braves outfield prospect Drew Waters, who is currently batting over 300 at AAA with 3 home runs and 5 steals. The batting average I'm a little bit skeptical of, but he does have some power speed combination. The Braves are currently running Guillermo Heredia out in center field. So Drew Waters has played 9 games in center field this season in the minors. So a few prospect names to remember there. We are going to take a quick break, but when we return, we have the Week 9 pitcher and hitter planners. We'll do that next here on Fantasy Baseball Today. The Week 9 hitter and pitcher planners presented by Leinenkugels. Scheduling for this upcoming week. 13 teams have 7 games. 14 teams have 6 games. And 3 teams play just 5 games next week. That would include the Atlanta Braves, the Boston Red Sox, and the Houston Astros. Scott, I'm going to throw it your way for some 2-start pitchers that you like heading into next week. Who you got?
Well, first of all, I want to point out that when I do my 2-start pitcher rankings every week, I have 4 different categories, 4 different tiers for those rankings. And the top one is must start all formats. And usually the 2-start pitchers that fit into that tier are there's like 7 to 12 a week. This week there's 19.
Yeah.
So
this week is a great 2-star pitcher week.
It's a great 2-star pitcher week. Exactly. So if you find yourself in a head-to-head league with like only 6 starts or something, you know, there's a good chance your opponent has a lot more, and you may have to take a bigger swing to contend with that. Okay, so there are a lot of interesting ones that are available. Not necessarily good, but interesting. One of them, my favorite, is probably Spencer Turnbull. Even though I was downplaying him after his no-hitter, his matchups this week are Cleveland and the Yankees. Those are pretty good matchups, and 2 really good starts in a row. Maybe he's figured something out. I'd still bet against it, but this week I think those matchups are good enough that probably should be started in most leagues, head-to-head points leagues for sure. And he's still available in 64% of CBS leagues. Let's see who else. Cole Irvin, he's pretty rostered already. Okay, so I'm just going to rattle off a few names here. I don't love any of them, but I think particularly in a points league where you can sacrifice ratios for volume to an extent, I think you could do it. So Tarek Skubal has those same matchups as Turnbull. Austin Gomber. Now, last time he had a 2-start week, we're
doing this again, Scott.
I mean, I wasn't excited to recommend him that last time. I'm more enthusiastic about it now. His walks.
These are both on the road. The mistake last time was I think at least one of those was at home.
They're both on the road, and he's been pitching better. His walk rate has been he's been a control pitcher in May, and he was walking a bunch of guys back in April. So yeah, Mets and Pirates. David Peterson, who's been kind of a two-faced pitcher this year in a lot of ways, but Rockies in New York and the Braves. Brad Keller, he's always interesting when he's making 2 starts. Justin Dunn, he's 91% available. One of his 2 matchups is the Rangers, and he's kind of interesting with the strikeout rate. Doesn't go deep into games very often. The walk rate's pretty high still, but been pretty effective overall. Matt Shoemaker gets the Orioles and the Royals. Kwang Hyun Kim, he might only deliver a 4 1/3 inning start, but he's got 2 of them this week, and he usually keeps runs off the board.
Austin Gomber in the month of May, 22 1/3 innings pitched, a 3.22 ERA, 9.7 K per 9, 1.2 walks per 9. He's got a 3.13 FIP, a 3.24 xFIP. Austin Gomber he's righted the ship for now. He's looked very good in the month of May. Scott, who are some single starting pitchers you would recommend this upcoming week?
Well, not as many of those, understandably, because there's so many 2-start pitchers to recommend. Yusei Kikuchi, he's still available in almost a quarter of CBS leagues. He gets the Rangers. John Gray, I like him a lot more when he's on the road. He's on the road this week at Pittsburgh.
He is dominating at home, though.
Yeah.
I think doesn't he have like a 2 ERA at home so far this season?
That doesn't surprise me, but it doesn't change my level of trust in him, road versus away.
Yeah,
Matthew Boyd.
Matthew
Boyd gets Cleveland. JT Brubaker gets the Rockies. I mean, these are all guys who are around 75% rostered. Somebody a little more available, Shane McClanahan, gets the Royals. How emphatically I recommend McClanahan might depend on how his start goes this weekend. And then, like, if you need to go really deep, James Caprillion is facing the Mariners, which means he might throw a no-hitter.
Based on this season, there's about a 5% chance it happens.
It's not crazy to say at this point. Chris, let's get you back involved here. I have some names.
I do have a couple of things.
All right.
John Gray's home road splits are nuts. He has 7 strikeouts and 3 starts on the road. It's really weird. And I I know Casey Mize has been getting good results lately. I might be on the Tariq Skubal is better than Casey Mize bandwagon at this point. He's been much improved in May, and it's coincided with a switch from, looks like he switched his splitter for a slower changeup over the last 3 starts, and the changeup's been a much more effective pitch for him. It has a 52.4% whiff rate. It's been by far his best pitch this season. So it's only a 3-start sample, but he's obviously an incredibly talented pitcher.
I've just noticed he's been using his secondaries more just in general last few. Like he's mixed it up a lot. Like his last start, the slider seemed to be the most effective one. But yeah, he just looks like he's trending the right direction.
I have 8 names listed here. They are not great names, but they have good matchups. So Chris, I'll throw them your way. In a deeper league, which 1 or 2 of these would be your favorite for next week? John Lester versus the Brewers, Alex Cobb versus the Rangers, Jose Urena versus Cleveland, Adam Wainwright at the Diamondbacks, Johnny Cueto at the Diamondbacks, Justice Sheffield versus the Rangers, Miles Michaelis at the Diamondbacks, Martin Perez versus the Marlins.
I want Wainwright, I think, is number 1. After that, I'm not sure there's a clear number 2, but
for deeper leagues.
I'm kind of feeling Miles Michaelis.
Okay.
I don't know if that's smart, but that's the way I'm going.
Set to debut this weekend against the Chicago Cubs. So let's see how he does in that start.
If it's a good start, then
sure.
If he looks good, then he probably goes to the top of that list. Yeah.
Scott, who are some sleeper hitters that you like rostered in 75% or less of CBS leagues for week 9?
So these have been going better lately. I've liked my sleeper hitter choices more, and they've gone better of late. So, I was such a downer about them the first few weeks. I think they're going better now. My favorite is Brian Reynolds. The Pirates have the 4th best matchups this week, and I just think he's a really good hitter. He had a home run to straightaway center today. He's got a line drive rate around 28%. He deserves to be rostered in more than 72% of leagues to begin with. Willie Calhoun, of course. Rangers have good matchups this week. Miguel Sano, he hit a grand slam in a doubleheader today, and obviously had the 3-homer game the other day, so he seems to be on the right track. Great matchups, Baltimore and KC. Ian Happ, of course. CJ Cron, I feel like he's always on this list. Now, the Rockies are on the road all week, but 7 games, and they're facing teams like the Pirates and the Mets, but not very good pitchers for the Mets. I mentioned Andrew Vaughn's on this list. In particular, the White Sox are facing 3 lefties in their 7 games, and his numbers against lefties have been awesome. Tyler Naquin, seems like the Reds have faced nothing but right-handers recently, and the same is true this week. And Adam Frazier. I might finally need to get aboard the Adam Frazier bandwagon now that he's rostered in 73% of leagues. Like, he's been one of the best line drive hitters in all of baseball this year. That batting average he's maintained a batting average around 320. And as I mentioned for Reynolds, the Pirates have good matchups this week.
Yeah, I still think both Brian Reynolds and Adam Frazier are rostered too low. 72% for Brian Reynolds, 73% for Adam Frazier. They're not flashy, exciting. I guess, the counting stats would be great, but
I can understand the hesitance for Frazier. He's been a scrub his whole career. But Reynolds was, heading into last year, he was a borderline top 30 outfielder. That's how we were ranking him.
Yeah.
And go back and look at those rookie numbers. He was great.
Adam Frazier, he gets the ball, the bat on the ball, makes good contact. He's batting .339 with an .877 OPS. Yeah, I would take the under on those remaining for the rest of the season, but he has been very serviceable this year. 5 teams with the best hitter matchups: the Mariners, A's, White Sox, Pirates, and Cleveland. The 5 teams with the worst hitter matchups: the Astros, Red Sox, Tigers, Nationals, and Padres. So there you have it, the Week 9 pitcher and hitter planners presented by Line and Kugels. And it's officially summer now in New York City. We completely skipped spring. Not really a surprise. 90 degrees this upcoming weekend. I'll be out and about, whiff a ball, shoot some hoops, come home, relax, catch a baseball game with a Line and Kugels Session Helles, which has all the flavor of a crisp German-style beer. It's only 99 calories, got to watch my figure. Summer is here. You want to drink a beer that can also keep you in shape? There you go. Yeah, not get you in shape, but it can help. It can help. That is the Line and Kugels Session Hellas. If you're into IPAs, Line and Kugels offers their Lemon Haze IPA, which is a well-balanced hazy IPA that blends hops with delicious lemonade. And of course, we can't forget about their famous Summer Shandy, which is an awesome blend of crisp beer with refreshing lemonade as well. So no matter what you're craving, Line and Kugels has you covered. Just head on over to liney.com. That's LEINIE.com, or follow Line and Kugels on Instagram or Facebook for more information about all of the delicious beers that they brew. Scott, you recently wrote an article redrafting the first 2 rounds for the rest of the season. Everyone can find it on cbssports.com/fantasy/baseball. I'll also throw it in the podcast description. So if you want to follow along while we talk about this.
We get to talk about it. That's fun.
Yeah, we get to
It's
talk.
always fun.
You brought it up the other day, and I was like, damn, that's an awesome podcast topic. We should probably talk about it. And, there were a few less games on a Thursday. So I'll let you run through your first round and then your second round. But, Chris and I will be here to, critique, of course.
This is like the Scott White show today.
The Scott White show.
Yeah. So, okay. So how are we going to do this? I will say so a lot of the first round looks the same, which probably isn't a surprise. We were very confident in those guys coming in. Even the ones who have underperformed, we still have reason to be very confident in them.
So can I just ask one question?
Sure.
Did you just take injured guys out entirely?
Well, okay. The way I did it was drafting today for based on what we know now.
Okay.
On, mid-May, basically.
That makes sense.
Rest of season. So I originally had Mike Trout as the number 2 pick. We found out he's missing 6 to 8 weeks. Obviously, if we were drafting today, he would not be even a top 24 pick for me. So he's out entirely. Okay. So the top 4, Ronald Acuna, no surprise there. Juan Soto, I still have number 2. Mookie Betts, 3. Garrett Cole, 4. So I've moved him ahead of the other 2 there, which, it was such a close call to begin with. And Cole has clearly he's been pitching out of his mind. Trey Turner, number 5 now. The
leap he made last year as a hitter seems to be completely legit. He seems to have really taken it to another level. Exactly.
Yeah, the power. He's reiterated the power production there. Jacob deGrom is 6th for me. Shane Bieber 7th. Jose Ramirez 8th.
Yeah.
That's one I could have maybe put ahead of those 2 pitchers, but I'm never totally confident Jose Ramirez is going to end up with a great batting average in the long run. Trevor Story 9th. Still have a lot of confidence in him, even though he hasn't performed up to that level so far. Freddie Freeman 10th. Of course, I don't really have any concerns about him. All right, here's the first really interesting name. Vladimir Guerrero checks in at 11th. He's now a first-round caliber player in my mind. And if we were redrafting, I'd take him in the first round. So I don't know if you guys want to critique that or if I should just keep going.
Yeah, and then you round it out with Trevor Bauer. So
yeah,
Jose Ramirez is so interesting because he's succeeding. He is the 4th best hitter in points leagues despite a 265 batting average. And it's in spite of the lineup and his surrounding, he still has 12 homers, 25 RBI, 29 runs scored, 6 steals. He's not a 5 category contributor because he hits a lot of fly balls. The batting average is probably going to be, 270-ish.
Yeah, 265, 270 in this context. I mean, that's 30 points above league average for May, which has been 10 points above league average for April.
You're right about that. You're right about it. It's just he's not I guess, in the way that we look at someone like Soto, right, who's a 300-plus hitter. I don't have a problem with Vlad Jr. being in the first round or, a late first, early second round. Trevor Story was the one that stood out to me where I'm sure he's going to get back on track, and we just spoke about him on yesterday's podcast. But he was kind of the name that stood out to me as all right, ahead of Fernando Tatis, which we'll get into.
I really as long as the Rockies don't trade him, obviously that would change the equation entirely. But I don't have any reason to believe Story won't be a plus contributor in batting average, home runs, and stolen bases still. And just by virtue of playing half his games at Coors Field, the runs and RBI will be plenty good enough too. So like he's kind of let me look here and make sure I'm not he's kind of the last surefire 5 category threat, I feel like.
And were you doing this for Roto just in general, Scott, or?
Yeah, I mean, I understand it might look a little different if I was doing it in points leagues, but I don't think it would look that different. I feel like the super high end hitters have distinguished himself enough from the rest of the hitter class again that there's not so reason to go extremely pitcher heavy in points leagues now. At least it's not looking like there is. The way it seemed like at the start of the year. So I don't think it would be that different. There might be, a couple differences, but I think particularly for the first round, I might, no, I don't really know that there'd be any difference. I might move deGrom and Bieber ahead of Trey Turner, but that's it. It'd be pretty close either way.
Trevor Story currently has a sub 800 OPS in Coors Field this year, and currently, he has a 968 career OPS in Coors Field. So I would expect that's going to get better as the season goes along.
That is a reason to buy Trevor Story.
For
the way you should read that.
Sure. The second round, Scott.
All right. So the second round, there are more changes to the second round. Not surprisingly. Fernando Tatis kicks it off. And of course, if there wasn't the fear that he was going to tear his labrum every time he follows through on his swing, Fernando Tatis would still be a top 5 player. He's looked great since coming back from the injury. Performance wise, I don't have any concerns. It's just there's the sword of Damocles hanging over him. I think that's what it's called. Yu Darvish, second pick of round 2. Max Scherzer, third pick of round 2. That's a move up for Scherzer. Bryce Harper. A little bit of a move up for him. He's the 4th pick of round 2 for me. So we got Tatis, Darvish, Scherzer, and Harper. And then the 5th pick of round 2. None other than the Shohei kid.
Woo!
Shohei Ohtani. Yeah.
But Scott, did you see he was throwing 91 miles per hour?
So is that for weekly lineups?
Yeah. I mean, that's when we've been talking about him. We've done the exercise. Okay, if he was eligible in the outfield, how high would you put him there? And I said behind Bryce Harper. So, the power speed combo, if he's going to be in the lineup virtually every day, which was always the big problem in the past, is they just sat him so much. But yeah, we're seeing the kind of impact he can have. He could pitch or not pitch, obviously, and I still think he'd be worth this spot.
I think the strikeout rate is probably the reason I wouldn't put him this high.
I do mention in here
the plate discipline's not great.
I do mention in here that he's probably would see the biggest difference if it's a points league versus a categories league. Like he probably would not be a second round pick for me in a points league because of those plate discipline issues and because steals aren't as valuable in a points league. All right, the 6th pick of round 2 is Tyler Glasnow. Obviously a big move up for him, and that makes him the 6th pitcher here. 5, 6, 7. 7th pitcher here. Xander Bogaerts. In the long run, I don't think he's a fundamentally different player, so this may be a little high, but just as much trouble as it's been filling out a lineup.
Part of it for me is given the league context, he might be playing half his games at Fenway Park, his skill set, his contact ability, his all-around skills as a hitter. He might be especially well suited to continue to I kind of think him and Jose Ramirez are two in that kind of category. I mean, obviously, also the other hitters we're talking about.
And Bogarts stole 2 bases here Thursday night. So if he's going to make that part of
it,
he always flirts with that. And I never know whether to consider that part of his profile.
That's the thing about Xander Bogaerts is he's been a bona fide elite fantasy player for 5 straight years now, probably. And he's never the same player.
Yeah.
He's just got so many skills, but he's just 1 year he hit 330. The next year he hit like 26 homers and drove in a ton of runs. I think one year he had like almost 20 steals. He's just like a different kind of player every year, but he's always really good.
Yeah. JD Martinez is the 8th pick in round 2. We valued him at this level or higher for 3 straight years. So now that he's back performing this way, I don't know why we win it again. 9th pick of round 2, I got Manny Machado. His numbers are down early on, but he's stealing a lot of bases, and I don't really see any red flags. Any reason to think he won't bounce back. One that I kind of had to talk myself into here. Then, what is it? The 10th pick of round 2 is Bo Bichette. His OPS is, I think it's below 850. 840. Yeah. He had a good game today, so it's 845, just barely below 850. And that doesn't seem like second round material. But I mentioned before, shortstop has kind of become a scarce position all of a sudden. And he contributes steals too. So I think of the 5 roto categories, the one I worry about him in the most is batting average. But I still think it'll be fine. I don't know. He's kind of a poor man's Jose Ramirez. I don't know.
I like that. I like that call. He has 36 runs scored, by the way, too, which is among the league leaders.
Yeah. He's just like the underlying numbers don't back it up, but the underlying numbers haven't really backed it up so far for him.
Right.
Yeah.
I said before the season. Yeah. I mean, and I kind of said before the season, he's not like an incredibly impressive tools guy. Like he's not the fastest guy. He doesn't hit the ball the hardest, but he just kind of, there's something about his ability to play baseball that allows him to put everything together to be greater than the sum of his parts. And I'm kind of starting to reach the point where that's just kind of true of him, especially from a fantasy perspective.
Yep. Brandon Woodruff is the last pitcher I include here in the first 2 rounds, the 8th pitcher off the board. I still see him as more in like the Aaron Nola, Lucas Giolito, Walker Buehler class than, up there with Scherzer and Darvish. Yeah. But I think just based on the way he's performed so far, he deserves to lead that tier. Mm-hmm. So I'll stick him in here in the second round. And then rounding out round 2, I needed a replacement for Trout. Remember, Yelich had just come off the IL. I really don't know how to value Yelich right now, but I'm being careful not to undervalue him. I think that the greater danger is undervaluing him than overvaluing him. So I have Yelich here rounding out round 2 in my redraft for the rest of the season.
Go ahead, Scott.
Some other names I considered. I'll just mention them real quickly here. Cody Bellinger, kind of the same story as with Yelich. Alex Bregman, Corbin Burns. Yeah, I guess he would be next. I mentioned like Aaron Nola, Lucas Giolito, and Walker Buehler. Obviously, there's a lot of pitchers you could consider next, but Burns has the most eye-popping numbers so far, obviously. Byron Buxton, if he wasn't hurt, probably would have been in there. Nick Castellanos, I kind of wanted to make him that last. I think if I was going to choose one of this honorable mentions who would be who came closest to making it, and it would be Nick Castellanos. It felt a little wrong to put him in round 2 at this point. And Aaron Judge also I considered.
Yeah,
the thing with Castellanos is just that the margin for error, and it's kind of similar with JD Martinez, for guys who just don't steal bases, the margin for error is so slim. Like if Martinez and Castellanos hit 285 with a 30 homer pace the rest of the season, they're not disappointments. They're not, there's nothing wrong with that. They're probably not worth that kind of, selection.
Yep. And the reason that they are ranked so highly this early in the season is because they are going way above what was expected and what you just mentioned, Chris. Like even if they were just 280 hitters with a 900 OPS, Nick Castellanos is batting 338, 1044 OPS. He has 11 home runs, 30 runs scored, 26 RBI. So he is a legitimate 4-category contributor. Just not going to really give you much in steals. Again, you can check out.
And when I talked him up as a breakout coming into the year, I said hopefully second round production. Like I think he's capable of second round production. So that's partly why I wanted to put him in the second round now, just to validate my own claim there. But hopefully it keeps it up.
Yep, and you can check out that article on the site. I'll include it in the podcast description. Again, the redrafting, the top 2 rounds from here on out for fantasy baseball. Let's just take a look at the rest of Thursday's action with 5 minutes left in the podcast. Why not? Some waiver wire options. I'm just going to give you all these names, and you let me know your favorite. Dayton Dunning was up against the Yankees, 6 shutout with 6 strikeouts. Bobby Dahlbeck now has 8 hits over his last 7 games, including 3 home runs. He's 48% rostered. Drew Smiley now has 3 straight quality starts. He's at Boston next week. David Price, I had to include him. He started a bullpen game. He pitched 2 innings, shutout. I don't really know that there's much here, but Odubel Herrera has 13 hits over his last 9 games, including 1 homer and 2 steals. And Mauricio Dubon has 9 hits over his last 6 games. If you're playing in a deeper league, he has a lot of eligibility. So Dunning, Dahlbeck, Smiley, David Price, Odubel Herrera, Mauricio Dubon. Any interest?
Not really in any of them, for me, to be honest. I think Dahlbeck has good power and will be useful at times, but he's going to be very streaky just because there's so much swing and miss there. Certainly, I'd go for Miguel Sano, who's still available in like 40% of leagues over him.
I think Smiley's, he's fine.
Well, he's your guy now, Chris. You have to support him.
I'm all in on Drew Smiley.
Yeah, you two
My
made a
number 2
deal
starting pitcher
during
the podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, real? Oh, so everybody knows about it already.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We just derailed the entire podcast. We started talking about your Dynasty League, Scott, and how we made a trade. So it was fun.
One update from that late game, Diamondbacks Dodgers, Frank, that I don't think we've mentioned. Is the start Merrill Kelly had against the Dodgers?
Sure.
12
strikeouts. Wow.
12 strikeouts in 7 innings, 3 earned runs allowed. I mean, obviously that's an eye-opening stat line. I don't really see any reason to think he's made he's figured something out or is about to take off here. I think he's still pretty fringy, but it's obviously something worth commenting on. So there's my comment.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I saw he had 8 strikeouts through 5, but to have 12 strikeouts against the Dodgers, the Dodgers have some injuries, but they're still a pretty good lineup. Merrill Kelly has allowed 3 runs or less in 6 straight starts. He's 18% rostered, and he is going up against the San Francisco Giants at home next week. So definitely a name in deeper leagues. I think he had thoracic outlet in the offseason.
Yeah.
So that's a really tough injury to come back from, surgery.
I mean,
but it looks pretty good.
This is his 2nd career double-digit strikeout game in the majors, and his last one was 10 strikeouts on June 2nd, so almost 2 years removed from that.
I'm going to run through some players, who's hot and who's not, starting with the hot guys. Duh. Randy Arozarena has officially arrived to the 2021 season. 4 for 6 on Thursday with a home run, 3 runs, 4 RBI. He has 3 home runs now over his last 2 games. He's batting .283, 7 homers, 4 steals total. Joey Wendell had 4 hits, including a double dong that gets him back up to a .309 batting average with an .890 OPS. Austin Meadows went 3 for 6 with a double. The batting average is still just .229, and I will admit he has struggled against lefties. So some people have pointed that out to me. He has been sitting against them recently. We got to get that launch angle down. That's the biggest thing for Austin Meadows, but he's looked better recently. Domingo Germán at the Rangers, 7 shutout with 5 strikeouts. He had 17 swinging strikes in 6 starts since returning from the alternate training site. He has a 1.94 ERA, 35 strikeouts to just 6 walks over 37 1/3 innings pitched. However, 4 of those starts were against Baltimore twice, Cleveland, and Texas. So do with that what you will. Josh Bell has 8 hits over his last 7 games, including 2 home runs. Kyle Schwarber, 9 hits over his last 8 games, including 4 home runs. Mark Cannon went 2 for 4 with his 8th homer of the season. He also has 6 steals. JD Martinez just keeps plugging away. 2 more hits, hit his 12th home run, 37 RBI. Vlad Jr., 2 more hits for him. A .329 batting average with a .1051 OPS. We already spoke about Dansby Swanson. Who else is not hot? DJ LeMahieu, 0 for 4, .267 batting average. Nate Lowe, 0 for 4. Now 1 for 26 over his last 8 games. And it seems like he's going to be a pretty streaky player. Got off to a great start, went into a lull, was great again. Now he's back into another lull. Maybe it's just a thing if your last name is Low or Lau. I guess you're just a streaky player.
Maybe.
All right.
Was the former Red Sox pitcher? He was pretty streaky, right?
Derek Lowe?
Derek
Yeah.
Lowe? I
I
could
feel like he had some good years and some bad years.
The call to the pen, some bullpen updates. For the Twins, Taylor Rogers was used in the 6th inning in a 7-inning doubleheader to face Shohei Ohtani, Anthony Rendon, and Jared Walsh. Hansel Robles picked up his second save, 12% roster, as Scott White fist pumps across the finish line.
Well, I got him in tout. My don't draft any closers and just trust to pick them up on the waiver wire over the course of the season strategy is not going particularly well in that league so far. I think this is my third save. Hansel Robles got me here. So yeah, I mean, obviously it could have just been high leverage situation. Rogers, that's what it looks like. Why Rogers was used earlier than the 9th inning or 7th inning because it was a doubleheader. But at the same time, it's been pretty bad as since his move into the closer role. So it wouldn't surprise me if Robles got some more opportunities. We'll see.
For the Blue Jays, Jordan Romano was used in the 8th inning with a 7-5 lead at the time. Rafael Dolis then proceeded to allow 3 runs in the 9th, and he took the blown save and loss. Chris, who gets the next save opportunity for the Blue Jays? Jordan Romano or Rafael Dolis?
I feel like I'm back in high school and you're a teacher and you just saw me yawning and you had to call on me.
That's
to
right.
Make sure I was paying attention.
Wake up!
Ooh, teacher.
It's
Tyler Chatwood. That's the answer.
He has been amazing.
I'm not sure. Like, have they really used Tyler Chatwood in a way that suggests he's next up yet? I don't really feel like he's been awesome.
He was used in the 7th inning in this game, and I know when Dolis was out, he was used in the 8th inning to set up for Romano.
Yeah, I don't even know how sincere that answer is.
I would guess.
Oh, he's been used in the 8th inning a lot.
If it's not Dolis, it's probably Romano.
Probably.
Right. I would say it's like 55-45. 50,
like
50, 40, 5% Tyler Chatwood. If you're 5%, they have like a 3-inning blowout win, and some middle reliever gets a save.
If you're like me and you're having to project saves, the next in line, I think Chatwood. I mean, just for the ratios, pick him up, and maybe he'll become the closer at some point. Maybe.
For the Red Sox, Matt Barnes got his 10th save. For the Pirates, Richard Rodriguez pitched in the 9th and the 10th. He picked up his 3rd win. For the Yankees, Aroldis Chapman got his 11th. And the Cubs, Craig Kimbrell struck out the side for his 9th save. His ERA is 1.02. Streamers for the weekend, to stream or not to stream. We'll start with Friday. Jordan Montgomery versus the White Sox. Martin Perez at the Phillies. James Caprillion at the Angels. Mike Minor versus the Tigers. Tyler Ivey. Don't really know much about him, but he's at the Texas Rangers. And Tyler Anderson at the Braves.
I'm going for Tyler Ivey. No, I'm not. I'm going for
The other Tyler.
Tyler Anderson, Mr. Anderson.
Yeah.
He hasn't been. I don't know. I don't know if that dog will run. I don't know if that's an expression either. But anyway, I don't know. Jordan Montgomery, maybe. And then Minor, and then Caprillion.
Oh, man. I feel like we should just wrap up, man. This is this is painful. Streamers for the weekend. I mean, it's not a great group. I would go with Montgomery. I would go with Mike Minor. And I would probably go with James Caprillion without Mike Trout. Yeah. Saturday streamers, Antonio Senzatella at home versus the Diamondbacks. John Lester versus the Orioles. Brady Singer versus the Tigers. Adbert Alzolay at the Cardinals. Shane McClanahan at the Blue Jays. And Miles Michaelis in his season debut versus the Cubs.
Singer has to be one.
Yep.
And I guess Alzolay. I like Alzolay a lot. So I'll go with him at St. Louis and then McClanahan at the Blue Jays.
I agree. For Sunday, Cody Poteet versus the Mets, JT Brubaker at the Braves, Casey Mines at the Royals. I was about to say Chiefs, don't know why. Chris Bubich versus the Tigers, John Gray versus the Diamondbacks, and Zach Davies at the Cardinals.
I just have one thing to say about Cody Poteet. He has a small son. Do you know what his name is? Cody Poteet. I like JT Brubaker among this group. I guess Casey Mize.
What about John Gray?
Well, yeah, we got to pitch John Gray at home, right? We've been pumping him up.
2 ERA at home.
And he's going up against Arizona. So
Those are your three.
I think so.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't hate Chris Bubich, who has looked pretty good as well. But
I don't hate him either.
He's done nothing to you.
Yeah. So therefore, I like him. For Scott and Chris, I am Frank. Thank you all for listening and watching Fantasy Baseball today. We'll be back again on Monday. Bye-bye.